Hey interns, I want to tell you a little bit about Bible study tools. A lot of these things I do online now. I have a few books in my hand I'll show you in a minute, but things like concordances and lexicons and interlinear Bibles, I do that all online. What's a concordance? Concordance is kind of a dictionary, but a concordance is a listing of all of the biblical words, the root words, for the most part, in the original languages. So Hebrew, Aramaic, the tiny bit that Aramaic is in Daniel, and then Greek. And so you can find your word. It usually has a number, and that number comes in handy in a minute. And then it shows you most, or maybe even all, of the different places where that word is used in the Bible. And it gives you a listing of some of the different ways it can be translated, or maybe even all of the ways it's translated in the Bible. And usually there's a little bit of a definition, but it's fairly brief, and it's not, the concordance said that this word means this, and so they translated it wrong here. Because words have different connotations in different locations, right? Connotations in context. So that's what a concordance does. It can be very, very helpful. An interlinear Bible can help you with your concordance, especially if you have a concordance that uses a different translation of the Bible than what you are used to reading from. The best concordance, the most common concordance is the Strong's Concordance, which was done from the King James Bible. But an interlinear Bible has usually a very, very literal English translation, and then underneath or above it, the Hebrew or the Greek. And so often online you can find these interlinear Bibles, and you can click on the English word, or it highlights the Greek word or the Hebrew word, and then you click on that and a bubble pops up or another window opens up and it shows you what number it is in the concordance or the lexicon, and then you can go deep from there. So interlinear is very, very helpful. Just seeing what word is used for each thing, unless you happen to read Hebrew or Greek, and then you don't need an interlinear. I don't do that. So I use the interlinear to find out which word it is that I'm looking for. A lexicon takes the information from the concordance and then goes deep. You can go really, really deep into what words can mean, and maybe sometimes even like why certain translation choices are used, but I think that's more rare. But you're going to find an extensive list of every place that word is used. You might find some grammatical information about what it looks like. I usually don't go super deep into a lexicon, but it can be helpful to find out like why might this word have been translated this way here and another way over there, because words have ranges of meaning. So lexicons just help you go deeper. And especially if you really want to study a word out, like, okay, follow that word all through the Bible. How does it get used? And in what context does it get used? And what connotations does it begin to hold? And does that word then begin to be like almost like a trigger word to trigger off like some whole big theological idea or one of the narratives of Scripture? So lexicons can be very, very helpful in that. And there are also these things called Bible dictionaries. Here's a complete expository dictionary of Old and New Testament words by William D. Mounts. And so I flip this open, and I look at the word, this is the word no. And so here's what it looks like in Hebrew. That's one of the words for no. This actually gives me a few different ideas. This is kind of like lexicon, but it's not so much about, it's not going to give me all the different places it's used, but it really just digs into what that word can mean in greater depth. And so I don't think this one contains all of the words, but who knows? I should have done my research before I recorded this video, right? And then it gives you the New Testament words, and like gnosko. I like that word a lot. It's where we get the word ignorant, and also knowledge. We just switch the G to a K when we get to knowledge for some reason. Why switch from a G to a K? Why have basically silent letters anyways? I don't know. They don't answer that question in here. Then there's knowledge, Old Testament and New Testament words, exciting stuff. And so this is really, I think, really accessible. Lexicons are kind of hard to read. So this is actually a pretty good one. Then you have different types of Bible dictionaries. Now this is Dictionary of the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. So this is only about the Pentateuch. Now this is more, in my mind, of an encyclopedia. Promises, divine. And then you have articles. This isn't just like where do you find this word in the Bible or what does it mean? You have articles, basically theological interpretations of promises in the Pentateuch. And so this is totally historical criticism. That's not even in the Bible. That's about the Bible. So this is really more of a an interpreter's encyclopedia, I guess. So you won't. I don't think we're going to do anything with these in this internship year, but there it is, so you know. And then there's things called Bible handbooks. I think this is exciting. I think the Bible Project is a video version of a Bible handbook in a lot of ways. You get this introduction, overview of all the books of the Bible, and then they also highlight like key terms and key themes. And so kind of even some of that like Bible dictionary stuff, the big fat one, or a Bible handbook introducing you to the different books of the Bible. That's what the Bible Project does. And you know, it's the 21st century. We're sick of old fat books with no pictures, right? Anyways, you may find a Bible handbook to be helpful. I've had one in the past. I don't know where it is anymore. Called Erdman's Bible Handbook, and there's some good ones out there. Just kind of giving you some overview information about a Bible book. But I'm kind of still infatuated with the Bible Project, and it's been several years now. So, and then commentaries. Oh, this is a really good one. I'll probably have you guys look into this at the end of the year. Galatians by Gordon Fee. What is a commentary? This is actually a relatively short one for the book of Galatians. Not because, I mean, you know, Galatians is not very long, but, well, you can turn a commentary. This is 250 odd pages, all about the 6 chapters of Galatians. Wow. So commentaries come in different sorts. Some of them are very theological. Some of them are very academic. Some of them are more pastoral. The good ones, I think, combine, in my mind, I'm not a scholar per se. So the good ones provide an adequate depth regarding the scholarship about the Bible, about the book that you're reading. What's the context? How does the context affect what is being said? What are the potential, what's the word I'm looking for? Translation issues. Are there any textual variants that are significant that we should know about? And how do the translators make their decisions? Or how does the commentator prefer that that decision be made? And that can be helpful as we go forward in figuring out what the word says more in depth. And then they just go into more depth theologically. Like, how does this connect to the rest of the Bible? How does it connect to what this that biblical author maybe has written elsewhere? How does this connect to the historical context of like the wider area and the city? Since this is Galatia, well, that's a region, not a city. And then how do we put that into practice? How does that apply? So a lot of good commentaries are somewhat time sensitive. You can get good commentaries from way back in the day, but some of the stuff might not be quite so applicable because it's kind of like listening to sermons from way back in the day. Some of the sermons, man, they're going to always be powerful, but some of the illustrations might get lost. Some of the applications might not even be applicable anymore. So those are commentaries. This should be moderately helpful to you, and hopefully you laughed a couple of times, and maybe you'll cry when we start looking at word studies. I don't think so. I'm not like the biggest word study person in the world, but there's really great depth. I love reading commentaries. I'm weird. Most people only use a commentary to look up a particular. I'm going to preach on this passage. Let's see what the commentary says about this passage. Galatians 1:10 through 2:21. That's a long passage. I like reading them cover to cover. Just digging into the word, you know. Want to see which one I'm reading right now? The Prophecy of Isaiah. Oh man, I've been reading this for a year and I'm only halfway through. I try to do a chapter a week. I don't always get a chapter of Isaiah. Anyways, it's just good to love God with your mind. Love God with your mind.